5, 6, 7, 8. Brr, brr, ma.
Got a bonus one in there.
That was a really good warm-up. I feel like that was one of our best yet.
Honestly, though.
Probably because we don't have a guest again.
Yeah, they just hold us back sometimes. No offense to our previous guests. We love you.
Or to our future guests as well, because we also love you.
Yes, but maybe our future guests just have like the warm-up thing down. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know yet. If we get Ashley Tisdale, I think she'll have it down.
Probably. I hope so, because it'd be really embarrassing if she didn't.
Hello, and welcome to Outside the Search Bar, the podcast where we try to answer questions without using Google. I'm Jacob Schubach, and I'll turn it over to my sister and co-host,
Emily. I hate that I sing every week.
It cracks me up every time.
It's pretty funny. So each week, Jacob and I come prepared with questions that we do not know the answers to. We are collecting a ton of questions in our phones, which is honestly a testament to how little we actually know.
Of course, we would be remiss to not take listener questions. So if you have a tough question you'd like us to answer on the podcast, send us an email to searchbarpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on social at searchbarpodcast.
You should follow us and leave a review too.
Yes.
How are you, Jacob?
I'm doing not well because there's a heat wave in Los Angeles and it's going for another 4 or 5 days. And I'm like 2 days into it and I can't stand it.
Oof. Do you have air conditioning?
No.
What? You
I
don't
know.
have air conditioning?
No, we don't have. A lot of apartments in Los Angeles don't have air conditioning because it gets like this once a year. There's like a week where it's just unbearably hot. But this is the second time that it's happened this year, and I'm very upset about it.
I just assumed like LA was like regularly warm and that air conditioning would be almost like more popular.
It's like not humid here, so like you don't really need it all the time. And I feel like you open your like my apartment's relatively well shaded and like all that stuff, but like usually it's not that bad. But this week it is.
What if you just like ate popsicles all week?
The only popsicles that I have alcohol in them, and they don't freeze all
What
the
if
way.
you just ate popsicles all week?
Imagine I'm just like on work calls like, hey guys, I'm really dehydrated.
I don't know why. It's probably the heat and not the copious amount of alcohol I've been consuming.
The freezy pop alcohols that I've had. Hello, this is Jacob in the edit room, reminding you to drink responsibly. Slay.
Those are honestly really yummy.
They are really yummy. I got like a weird brand though, and like there's like 6 different flavors that are like apple, and like the grape one, it's I think it's supposed to be flavored like grape, but I'm pretty sure the packaging just says purple, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
I mean, are purple and grape synonymous? Because I feel like they are.
Yeah, because I mean, like they say grape flavoring, it doesn't really taste like grapes. It tastes like
it tastes like purple.
It tastes like purple. How have you been, Emily?
Pretty okay, I guess. Apparently,
really keeping it light for the listeners.
Let's go into my trauma, which is namely, we tried to descale our Keurig this morning and it started smoking. So I did not get a cup of coffee. Well, that's a lie. I did not get a cup of coffee when I wanted it, and I had to drive to go get one.
Oh,
so that was rough. But I did reach out to Keurig customer service, and they are sending us a new one.
Wow, a whole new Keurig?
Right? A whole new Keurig.
I'm gonna reach out to them too and be like, my Keurig's broken.
Okay, so be careful with that because you need a proof of purchase. So thank you, Target Circle, for logging my receipts.
Okay.
You need a photo of the serial number. And then you need a picture of the unit with a piece of paper underneath that is handwritten with your name, the date, and a like code that they provide you during the service phone call. So they are really tight on security so that you cannot scam them, like Jacob just suggested he was going to do.
Literally, while you were explaining all the things to do, I was like, I could Photoshop that. Like, I'm definitely 100% sure that I could figure out a way to make it look like my Keurig that I don't even have is broken.
I mean, probably, but at least they did their due diligence.
Or, I mean, alternatively, they could just sponsor our podcast.
Yeah, they
Couldn't think about
could.
it. Consider it.
Sponsored by Keurig. I would accept that, honestly.
I would accept that too. I think that's a good sponsorship.
And it totally like aligns with their brand too, because I searched for what happened to my Keurig this morning, and that's related to our podcast.
And if you search how do you make
things.
coffee, just put the Keurig pot in. The little bucket. What do you call those things? Pod?
A K-cup?
Oh, a K-cup.
Mm-hmm.
A Tide Pod. Kidding. Don't eat
I wonder
Tide
what
Pods.
would happen.
Don't do that.
I mean, it's broken already. So like...
It's already smoking. Let me put some chemicals into it.
Have you seen the things on the internet, like on TikTok and Instagram, of people who are putting like weird stuff in coffee makers?
No.
Like they put like inside the little paper thing, they put like Starburst, and then instead of putting water in it, they put like vodka in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem real to me.
I think it's a good idea.
I don't
I feel like you would have to run it through multiple times to like make the Starburst melt though.
Yeah. And I just feel like you could never use that for coffee. Like I feel like you would need a dedicated alcohol coffee maker, because I feel like the flavors just stay in there.
Well, the world may never know, because we're not going to be doing that with our coffee makers.
No, we will not.
Well, I think it's great time for our first segment, which is What's Trending?
What's Trending? I love that we matched the inflection. In that split second, I was like, how will Jacob say this?
We matched the inflection, but not the timing.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
26 years got us close.
Yeah, close enough. So What's Trending is when we discuss the latest Google search trends from the week and give our thoughts, comments, concerns about what people are searching for. So Emily didn't know a lot of the trends that I pulled for this.
I've been busy, you know?
Yeah, including Army Hammer. She didn't know why he was trending because he's a cannibal, allegedly. Don't Worry, Darling. She didn't realize that Harry Styles had spit on Chris Pine. Rings of Power. She never even heard of that. It's $1 billion production, one of the most expensive TV programs ever created. Emily didn't hear about it.
It's a TV program? It's not even a movie?
8 episodes, and it cost $1 billion for them to make it. It was $750,000 to produce the 8 episodes, and then $250 million to acquire the rights to do that. But
I just feel like there are hungry people.
Yeah, Amazon apparently doesn't care.
Oh.
Oh, it's Amazon. Oh, okay.
I don't know. We can continue.
Unfortunately, we have not solved world hunger or climate change on this podcast yet.
But we're working on power, whatever that is.
Yes. I watched the first 2 episodes. So far as I can tell, there's no gay characters. So it's like, what's the point of continuing?
Yeah.
But what we did find that Emily is interested in talking more about is that Dolly Parton was trending. And why was Dolly Parton trending, may you ask? Well, it's because she created a new lifestyle brand for dogs called Doggy Parton. So I've linked it in here. Neither of us have looked at the Doggy Parton website yet. It looks like it's coming soon, but the collection is currently on Amazon. Terrible that we just dragged Amazon and now we're looking at Amazon. But here we are.
I hate you, but I will be making purchases.
Okay. Did you go to the Doggy Parton Amazon page?
Doggy Parton store coming soon.
Okay, but you can click through to the Amazon page.
Oh, okay. I see.
There's a statement from Dolly. It says, "Puppy love was my first record, and 6 decades later, my love for pets is stronger than ever. This inspired me to start my own line of Doggy Parton apparel, accessories, toys, and more with a little Dolly flair. Part of the proceeds will support Willoughby Farms, a rescue where animals in need find never-ending love. Don't we all need that? Dolly," with a little picture of a butterfly.
That's cute. I appreciate animals.
Yes.
Is Dolly Parton's hair real?
No.
It's not. Is it a wig?
Yes, she's famously said that it is wigs and makeup and a lot of effort that goes into making herself Dolly Parton.
Are you going to tell me next that her boobs aren't real?
They are not.
Oh.
I think she's also been very vocal about that as well.
Okay, fair.
there's a great podcast about Dolly Parton. It's like Dolly Parton's Americana or something. 8 episodes. Great listen.
Okay, so I'm looking at the apparel now, and I love that the first thing is just like a t-shirt with Dolly's face on it, and it says Dolly. Like, really good.
I clicked on toys, and there's a dog hat that looks like you could also wear it as a human. A collar that has like pearls, it looks like. Oh my god, there's a little microphone that has like a little tug rope as well.
Oh, that's cute. There's a gingham shirt, which I think is really adorable. I also own a gingham shirt, so I could match Mr. Stubbs.
There's also a pink high heel. Oh my god, wait, go on the accessories page and go all the way to the bottom.
I'll do it.
You need to get this for Mr. Stubbs.
You did not explain that the hat was a pink cowboy hat with feathers and a crown on it.
In my head I did, but like scroll to the bottom.
Is that a Dolly Parton wig for your dog?
Yes, apparently you can buy a wig for your dog. And it comes with like a little pink bow or like I don't know what you would call that, barrette.
That's really cute.
I think you should get it for Mr. Stubbs.
See, the thing is, requested that Mr. Stubbs be a pumpkin for Halloween. But he could be Dolly Parton dressed as a pumpkin.
He could be just Dolly Parton on a random Tuesday.
He could.
You never need to stop for.
That's actually really cute.
And it's only $12.99.
Okay, collars, leashes, and harnesses. A pink harness that says spoiled.
Period.
Okay, and then like the gingham as well.
Yes.
Overall, I think this is cute.
Overall, I would buy it. I wish that it perhaps were not on Amazon, so I could buy it off of Dolly Parton's website directly.
Agreed.
But I do like that the portion of the proceeds are going to a nonprofit that is helping animals.
I really appreciate that too. And like this just seems like she's doing it because she can.
Yeah.
This is not her get rich quick scheme.
She's like, I was a musician for 60 years, and now my get rich quick scheme is to make a dog apparel business.
We don't know.
You don't know.
If you could rebrand your name, what would it be?
I mean, obviously, like Shoebox is right there. Like we could have a custom line of shoes. Sneakerheads are like very popular, like they're very into shoes. And so like if we sold some really cool sneakers, like maybe we could get like a brand going.
We could.
That was just off the top of my head.
My initial thought was Emma legal advice, but I have no right to provide legal advice to anyone. So we'll see. I'll keep brainstorming. I'm also now looking at the toys, and there's like this plush mug, and it says "I beg your," and it's a picture of Dolly, but it's like "I beg your pardon."
Oh, I didn't get that when I was looking at it because I was like, "I beg your 9 to 5." What is this? It's a picture of her 9 to 5.
I might buy that.
Yeah.
I also appreciate it looks like toys are like priced at like $7 to $10, and that's totally reasonable. Like it's not like it's marked up ridiculously. So
is that average for a dog toy? I have no idea.
I would say yeah.
Okay. I wonder how quality they are too.
I don't know.
Well, there's only one way to find out. It's to order one.
Oh.
Ooh, ooh. All right. Well, with that, I think that takes us to our main segment of the hour, the question and the answer, the bread and the butter of the podcast, the meat and potatoes, the peanut butter and jelly. We come up with a new phrase every time. We'll see what it is. Emily, what have you brought to the courtroom?
My question is, how do missing person rewards work? So I had this question because I recently traveled to visit our sister, Lizzie, and I took a train. And so I downloaded a lot of podcasts to listen to, and a lot of them were murder podcasts. And they were ending with like, oh, if you have any information like that will lead to the arrest of so-and-so, like there's a $10,000 reward. And I'm just like, where is this money coming from? What constitutes lead to the arrest? Like, if I give you a little, is that enough? If you get multiple tips, do you split the reward? Like what's going on? Is that tax deductible? You get taxed on that? Like
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
right?
And plus, like, I feel like there's probably like bounty hunters out there who are like looking for all of these like opportunities, and they're like, oh, there's a $300,000 reward to find, I don't know, Doggy Parton. Like, let me find Doggy Parton.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if there's like a lot of people looking specifically for financial gain.
Probably. Who's that famous bounty hunter?
Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yes.
Didn't we talk about this on the podcast once?
I feel like we might have.
Maybe. Who knows? So what's your like hypothesis of how it works?
Okay, I
Your
would
initial
guess
hypothesis.
that the money comes from someone related to the case. So it's like person's mom, family member, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Fundraises this money, crowdsources it maybe, or they're just independently wealthy. And it needs to like be a tip or a piece of information that did it not exist, you would not have caught, we'll say, the killer in this case, or find the missing person. I think if there are multiple people with the tip, maybe like first come, first serve.
Interesting. Okay, I feel like you're correct in regards to it being someone related to the case, unless it's like an enemy of the state. Specifically, I feel like when we were children and Ralph Bucky Phillips was like, he escaped the Erie County holding whatever and was just like running around. I feel like the government was like, we'll put up a reward for anybody who like helps turn in Ralph Bucky Phillips.
So where does that money come from then? Taxes?
Probably taxes. I would assume that it comes from like the police budget.
Side note, I was really convinced that Ralph Bucky Phillips was going to hide by our house. We lived like pretty far off the road, and it seemed like
a good place to hide. I would, but he didn't. I don't know where he was, but he wasn't near us. In terms of like, how do you redeem the reward? I think I'm most curious in regards to like, let's say that you and I did like a crime spree and we were on the run together. Do you think if I turned you in that I would get the reward? Even though I helped you with the crime?
We need to unpack that a little bit.
obviously I wouldn't turn you in.
I feel like no, because you're a bad person and they're not going to reward.
Well, I turned you in. Like I did what I needed to do.
I think it's like instead used of like, oh, if you turn on your sister, like you'll get a lesser sentence.
Oh.
So
maybe the money.
It'll be like
I'm going to try and scam Keurig, and then I'm going to try and scam the police or whoever that we're running from.
So we need to commit a crime first, because that
haven't done that yet. Yeah. Well, it's good to like plan ahead.
Yeah.
You never know. But legally, that's just a joke, obviously.
Yes. Legal advice from Emily: do not commit crimes.
Period. I would assume that it's like on like a good faith basis. Like, I don't think you would have to like take legal action to be like, oh, I was the one who gave you the tip that led to the arrest of X, Y, and Z person. I feel like the person was just like, oh yeah, you were the person, like here's the money.
And do you think that's handled of like just the individual who has like fronted the money?
I would assume so.
Okay.
And then in regards to like how quality the tip needs to be, I feel like it almost needs to be like last click attribution. Like it needs to be
That's a really good analogy.
The person who tipped the scale in the favor of finding and arresting said individual or locating said missing person. But that's just my guess.
I think that makes sense. Should we look it up now?
Let's Google it.
How do a missing person rewards work? Okay. I don't want to click on that. Quora. Yeah, Quora.
We love Quora because it's answers from the people.
Well, like the first URL looked real weird.
Oh, slay.
Just a bunch of letters, but then .gov. So like that sketches me out.
Anything .gov sketches me out.
Well, it's ojjdp.ojp.gov.
Yeah,
like,
same.
I don't want to click that. And then there's a lot of news articles of like, does this actually work? Okay. So this is the answer is from Ralph King 5 years ago, who is
Great.
a retired police officer.
Yeah, he would know.
So there's a community action trust reward. So basically, with a cat, a person gives a good quality, tangible, and actionable information to the police, usually via Crime Stoppers numbers.
Mm.
If you call in anonymously, you can't try to claim the reward.
Really? I mean, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, how would you prove that it was you? Payments are made at the discretion of trustees after reviewing outcomes and only at specific intervals. So don't bother logging on to check your bank balance the moment you get off the phone to Crime Stoppers. So I assume trustees is defined as like whoever's fronting it. So in the case you gave of like sometimes the government does it and the police station does it, there's some paperwork.
But that sounds like specifically like what like the Ralph Bucky Phillips one. Like the community put that up for it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is interesting. If your information leads to 2 arrests, you don't get double payment.
Oh, that's a scam. That is a scam.
That is a
scam.
Okay, some examples of tangible, actionable details is it gives specific dates, times, names, addresses, car details, events. Something investigators can get their teeth into. He really went into detail on this. Police may contact you to narrow down the details. You're protected under law for providing information to the police.
Oh, I clicked on the OJJDP.OJP and it says, be aware that your reward offer can become a legally enforceable contract. If you offer a reward, you are agreeing to pay a sum of money if a person's actions lead to the requested result. That means that anyone who complies with the terms of the offer can be legally entitled to claim the reward and can sue for its recovery. That's why you should be very careful in how you describe the terms of the reward offer. Sloppy language can result in serious legal problems. Ask an attorney for pro bono legal assistance.
And a legal advice.
Pro bono, baby. It's pro bono, but it also costs $75.
Oh, wow. Okay, here is Ask the Lawyer on dailybreeze.com. A reward is being offered to capture a hit and run driver. If I provide the information that leads to the suspect's arrest and ultimately get the reward, is it taxable? So the attorney answer, generally, unless accepted by law, all income is taxable. So yes. Yeah, you would have to pay taxes.
The more you know.
Wow. That sucks.
Do you feel like we've sufficiently answered your question?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to go try to solve a crime now.
Listen, I feel like there's a lot more detectives nowadays who are like, I'm going to make a podcast and solve a crime. So maybe we should do that. And you know who our inspiration should be? Yes, that's right.
Dolly Parton?
No, Slylock Fox.
Slylock Fox.
You know who Slylock Fox is?
Oh, I know who Slylock Fox is. Like, that sounds so familiar.
For those listeners who don't know Slylock Fox, he was in the Sunday morning cartoons in the paper. And you had to solve a mystery each week in the paper.
What was his buddy's name? Max?
Max Mouse. Emily and I did it every week. And sometimes I got it right. And sometimes she got it right. And sometimes we both got it right.
Would you be Slylock or would you be Max?
I feel like I would be Slylock because I'm the one who edits the podcast. And therefore I have more detective skills than you.
I'm trying to think if I know any crimes. Oh, there's a murderer in the DC area. He's called a shopping cart killer or something. He like murders people and like then he puts their like dead bodies in shopping carts and like rolls at places. Like
into the corral or like?
I think it's been found like in a parking lot in like the woods. Like,
don't love that. I don't think that one's. I don't think that one's for us. I think we should do one that doesn't have murder.
Oh, okay.
Just think about it.
Do you have a question, Jacob?
I do. My
Oh, wow.
my question, thank you. My question is, how do they pick the top 40 songs? And I had this question because I follow Demi Lovato, and she's using she her pronouns again, just released a new album that's more like a pop punk rock album, and it went
Hmm.
number one on the rock charts. And I was like, I haven't seen anybody talking about this album on Twitter like at all. Maybe it's because I'm like not in like the rock Twitter sphere, but I was curious as to how they determine what the number one album or song is, as well as like the top 40 hits, because like obviously that's probably just like the same thing. My initial hypothesis is that it used to be like based on what's the word? Radio listens. But I'm unsure about like how they got that data. Like, were local radio stations being like, hey guys, I played Demi Lovato's Cool for the Summer 12 times today. So there you go. And like they just added it all up, or like who was determining how this was all selected?
That's a really good question because I don't know the answer.
And like now I feel like with streaming, there's like Apple Music or Spotify Music. And I feel like Apple's like very protective of user data, like that they're not just going to be like, hey, Billboard, here's the top 100 songs that we're listening to on Apple Music.
Right.
Like, I feel like they wouldn't just be like, here's that data. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm
Yeah, I feel like
curious.
on the radio, like maybe it also comes from like song requests, but I
Mhm.
just feel like you wouldn't have a sample size large enough to garner the top 40 songs.
In the country, though,
Yeah, but like how many people call into the radio to request a song
not that
in
many.
the 90s, I guess we'll say.
A
At
lot,
least
probably.
40.
At least 40. At least 40. I feel like it's probably like a formula where it's like the number of times radio stations played it, the number of times it was streamed, and the number of times it's purchased, either in
Mhm.
store or on iTunes. But I remember seeing something, I think when like an Ariana Grande album came out, that the Ariana stans were trying to make her album go number one. And they're like, we need 126 people to buy it on iTunes for it to go number one. And I was like, is that all it takes to make something go number one on iTunes? Is that few people buying things on iTunes nowadays? Probably, but couldn't you and I just release an album and have 126 people buy it and then go number one in the country because of it?
I can make 126 emails. Like,
And plus you can get iTunes gift cards, so you could supply the iTunes money into without having to get more credit cards.
yeah,
Is this a good idea?
tune in next week.
True crime, we scammed iTunes.
And then the following episode, Emma legal advice on how to get out of.
How to get out of prison. Broadcasting live from prison.
We can use the reward money that we got for turning each other in to post our bail, which we learned how that works.
Yes, we learned how that works. We could have
And
bail
then we
bondsman.
actually show up to
Mhm.
court like we promised.
We could put out a reward for anyone who has information about why we got arrested.
Mm,
The police would be
mm.
like, we gave you a reason. Like, thank you.
You're not getting the reward. And then they'll be like, you contractually like are obligated to because you posted it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll rework this.
We'll rework this, but
after.
also the top 40 songs.
Yeah. So I think you're right that it's probably like a myriad of reasons, probably related to like streams and sales. And I'm sure it's evolved over time.
Mhm.
But my assumption also is that like depending on the organization that's posting the top 40 songs, like there may be variance depending on what data they have access to. Like
Interesting.
Billboard top 100 may be different from Spotify's top 100 or something like that.
That's probably 100% true. I wonder if it has something to do with music licensing. I think in order to get something like played on the radio or on Spotify, like you have to license the song through whatever Warner Music, Capitol Records, whoever it may be. And the number of times that you play that song is equivalent to the amount that you have to pay in order to use that song on your radio station and or on Spotify. So legally you would have to report that number. And so that number has to go to like Warner Records or I don't know, Capitol Records or whoever, and then they report that to Billboard themselves.
So all these corporations are just selling our data.
I think that might be true.
And they're using it to come up with a top 40 list of songs.
But I also like that people manipulate the top 40 list, you know, in like the K-pop stans, the K-pop girlies, love the K-pop girlies. They'll be like, you need to stream like this. You need to make sure that your Apple phone is on at least 1, and you need to change the song every 3 hours in order to make it look like you're not a bot. And like they figured out all the ways to like actually influence it. Maybe I know a lot more about this than I thought, but
apparently.
Here we are.
Jacob knows how to scam the system, guys.
Maybe. Okay, so that's our hypothesis, is that it's based on some type of licensing. Maybe? What do you think? Should we say?
I think in the 90s / early 2000s, it was based off of requests for the song. I do. Like, they don't have data. They don't have big data.
They're like, we got vibes.
We got vibes. And
wait, so you're telling me the top 40 were just made up by someone?
Yes. They're like, damn, people keep requesting Demi Lovato #1.
In the 1960s, Demi Lovato #1.
Yes. And I think now it's all
data.
Spotify selling it, Apple selling it, Warner Music or whatever you said is selling it.
Love that. All right. So how did they pick the top 40 songs? So this comes from entertainment.howstuffworks.com/top40. So in this article, we'll look at how radio stations decide what to play and how Billboard comes up with the magical list of the best music. How does a song make it to the top 40? Each week, Billboard puts together a chart of the top 100 most popular songs, as well as several other charts based on a national sample of top 40 radio airplay, top 40 radio playlists, and music sales. It seems complicated. All right. It says this is complicated. Great. First, there is Airplay. What is actually being played on the radio and on music video channels on TV? Airplay is tracked through broadcast data systems run by Nielsen. Okay, so it's like a third-party data collection, it seems. The broadcast data system uses digital pattern recognition technology to identify songs that are played on radio stations and music video TV stations across the United States and Canada. This is done 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and captures over 100 million songs annually. It also provides gross impressions, which is the number of people listening to the station multiplied by the number of times the record was played. Interesting. When new songs are recorded, a copy of the recording is sent to the broadcast data system, so it could be encoded and tracked by a system on the stations it monitors. This is not only used by Billboard in compiling weekly charts, but also by record company executives, radio stations, publishing firms, other organizations to determine the success of their musicians.
Interesting. Real interesting.
Yes. Another way is through sales. So Nielsen SoundScan is an information system that tracks the sales of music and music videos throughout US and Canada. By scanning the barcodes, they can collect sales information from cash registers each week from over 14,000 retail, mass merchant, and non-traditional sources, such as online stores, concert sales, etc. The data is compiled and available for subscribers every Wednesday. The more you know.
So Nielsen just has contracts with 14,000 retailers to access that data?
Probably. When I worked at Hulu, they also did like a lot of like data for like the number of people who are watching like Hulu TV shows, as well as like licensed TV shows and all of that stuff. So like I feel like they just have Nielsen has their like fingers in a bunch of different like data places, which is kind of scary when you think about it, because that's like one of the most, I feel like everywhere I've worked has like talked about Nielsen and like their data. So I'm like, across multiple industries, this place seems to have a lot of data, but of course it's like macro data. It's not like they're identifying that you, Emily, watched
there's no PII.
There's no like specifically Emily watched Demi Lovato's music video 200 times.
I feel like it'd be fun to work there, and you can just.
I think you're just in Excel all day looking at data. You're like pivot table.
I think it'd be so fun. Are they the ones that come up with like the weird correlations of like?
Yes.
Oh,
Where it's like if men stop buying underwear, there's going to be a recession.
Yeah.
That's one of the key indicators.
Or like as carrot sales went up, we see that temperature went down. Like those kind of weird things. I don't know.
Interesting. So the article continues and says that Billboard's methodologies for compiling the charts have gone through several changes over the years. So they've changed like the weighting of airplay versus sales because tracking a single song through album sales isn't exactly accurate. And single sales have gone down in comparison to streams. So only 20% of people actually buy a single, 90% of people listen to the radio / streaming. And so it alters the ratio of the points. So now the ratio is 20% sales and 80% airplay. Interesting.
When's the last time you bought an album?
I recently bought a vinyl. It's Sophie's album, Oil of Every Pearls, which is funny because I don't have a record player, but I wanted it. And so I bought it. I was going to buy a record player, not to mention Amazon again, but on Prime Day. And then I forgot that it was Prime Day. And I was like, what's the point of even having Amazon exist?
I think the last album I got was the U2 album that was downloaded onto everyone's iTunes account.
Period.
Wait, did they pay for that? Was that like a planned thing, or is it just like, oops?
I think it was like a marketing stunt. I'm not entirely sure though.
I mean, like that's pretty good, I guess. Did that then put it to the top of the chart because it showed a bunch of downloads?
I'm not sure. Probably. Maybe. We don't know.
Scam the system.
All right. Well, I feel like that's sufficiently answered my question.
Love that. And that leads us to the next segment, which is the listener question. Okay, so our listener question comes in from Maddie. She asked, why do different meats have to be cooked to different temperatures to be considered safe? Why can we not have rare pork or chicken, but you can have rare beef or even raw tuna? Maddie, very good question. Jacob, do you have an initial hypothesis?
Oh, I have lots of thoughts all of the
time. Any relevant to this question?
Maybe not. I do actually. So I've eaten a lot of raw foods. I've had beef carpaccio. Is that raw? Maybe.
Yes.
I've had.
Is it carpaccio or beef tartare? I've had beef tartare.
I don't know what carpaccio is. Who knows? We'll cook that as well. I've had lots of sushi, and I will say some of the best yellowtail cruda that I've ever had is at Wovo in Los Angeles in Mid-Wilshire. Absolutely delicious. My friend Maddie and I go there probably like once every couple of months, and we just pig out on that fucking yellowtail cruda. It's so good. Oh my God, my friend's name is Maddie, and Maddie asked a question. Different Maddie, so.
Wow.
My hypothesis is that it's based on the bacteria that are attracted to each type of meat. So specifically, I've never eaten raw chicken. I think you can. I feel like I've seen that on TikTok. I wouldn't do it, but salmonella is bad. And therefore you should.
Is bad.
You heard it here first, folks. That's true. And you have to get it to a certain temperature in order to kill salmonella. And like that's how they tell you what temperature to cook it to.
Oh, that makes sense.
Actually, no, that doesn't make sense because I feel like when you cook it to a certain temperature, that's like when it tastes the best. You know what I mean? Like you need to get like beef to 165 in order for it to be like quote unquote done.
Yeah.
And like
so I wonder if
that's like a way of eating it. Like it's a cooking style.
Okay, so is 165 like the minimum to kill off the bacteria?
I think
or
so.
Is 165 like optimal cookedness?
I think that's for it to be like done, like well
safe.
Done probably and safe.
Yeah. So I have a couple personal anecdotes about raw food, raw meats.
Oh boy.
We'll start early on. So the first one was John and I went to Philadelphia at one point, and we stopped by the seafood restaurant, and they
Yeah.
had a special of the day, and it was a scallop tartare,
Ooh.
and it had this like wasabi ginger dressing on top and like these little like
Mm.
crunchy rice pearls, and it
Mhm.
was the most incredible thing that I had ever eaten.
Did you
And
puke?
no, it was
It didn't
actually
make you
really
sick.
good.
She was
No,
healthy.
it didn't. Um, and we went in like February, and then for Christmas that year, I was gonna surprise him with the recipe for it. And I emailed like the generic reservation email at this restaurant, and I was like, "Hi, 10 months ago you had a special of the day that was a scallop crudo. Here's a picture I took of it. Could you give me the recipe?" And they like emailed back and they're like, hey, I'm CCing in like the chef's personal email. And he was like, oh yeah, I remember this one. And he like wrote out the recipe and just like gave it to me.
For
Um,
free?
for free.
Now that
I
is a
sent them
class act. That is some service.
I sent them a handwritten thank you note also.
Slay.
But I did also make the recipe myself and I did not get sick again. So like raw scallop,
Did it taste just as
totally
good?
fine. It was pretty close. It was still
Okay.
really good, but like I think my ratios were off a little bit.
Mm.
And it called for fresh wasabi, but like you can't get that at Wegmans. So
Who would have
I
known?
think there's a little bit of a quality difference. My second story did not go quite as well. We
Ooh.
recently went to Hershey, Pennsylvania to go to Hershey Park. And we stayed at a hotel. The restaurant looked really good, and we're eating there, and they had beef tartare on the menu. I have had beef tartare. John had not, but he'd always wanted to try it. So we ordered it. It tasted very good. But then we decided to go to Hershey Park after eating raw beef. Which
Uh-huh.
was not a good idea.
Did you eat a bunch of
two.
chocolate when you got there too?
No, we actually didn't. So apparently Hershey Park does this like nice thing and it's called like preview night. So like the day before you go for the full day, they let you in for the last 2 hours that the park is open. So this was like our preview night. But we rode 2 rides, and then we were both just like, I need to go take a dump. And then we spent like 20 minutes in the bathroom, and then we
Ew, in a
left.
public bathroom?
In a public bathroom.
Oh,
It was pretty rough, honestly.
Yikes. Sorry for our
So,
squeamish listeners.
so don't recommend raw beef, honestly.
Uh-huh.
It still tasted really good though. Do recommend raw scallops.
Interesting. I feel like I read something somewhere or experienced something somewhere that if you put lemon juice onto an oyster or a scallop, it kills the germs or something.
Sous vide.
I don't know what that means, but slay.
It's like a way of cooking, but like you just like marinate it in acid and somehow that cooks the food.
Oh, yeah, that seems right.
Or is that ceviche? Wait a
Maybe.
minute. Both sound right.
We'll Google that as well.
Well, yeah, we will.
So what was the initial question?
What?
All we did is just talk about times that you felt ill after eating raw beef at a theme park.
It wasn't at a theme park. It was just poorly timed.
Yeah. What was the question?
Why are there different temperatures that food has to be cooked to? And why can some things be eaten raw and others not?
Well, simply put, I feel like everybody's different and everybody's unique. And therefore, all things need to be
meats are
cooked.
unique.
Yeah. Unique? They need to be cooked at different temperatures.
I think Jacob's original hypothesis of different bacteria get killed at different temperatures is pretty legit. And I guess also just like raw chicken has bacteria in it like that is bad that needs to be killed off, whereas like raw beef like is probably pretty good if you get a clean cut.
Yeah. And I think when they tell you to cook things, like most often they're probably just lying to you. They want you to eat raw food and they're just trying to keep it away from you.
Gatekeeping.
Yeah, they could be gatekeeping because like you can eat sushi, like it's fine. It is what it is.
Let's look it up. Why do meats need to be cooked to different temperatures?
I also googled what is beef carpaccio, and it is a traditional Italian appetizer consisting of raw beef, sliced paper thin, drizzled with olive oil and lemon juice, finished with capers and onions. So we were correct that it was a raw beef.
Okay, nice.
We're so
Can you
smart.
look up sous vide versus ceviche?
Sure.
Okay, so this is from statefood.safety.com. Their February cartoon shows a crock pot and a piece of meat in it with like a thermometer in it. And it says, come on in,
Yeah.
the temperature is just right. So, okay, so Jacob was correct.
Oh, wow.
Different meats need to be cooked to different temperatures to kill bacteria that may be on them. For example, raw whole beef steaks need to be cooked to at least 145 degrees Fahrenheit to remove E. coli, while chicken and poultry need to be cooked to at least 165 to remove salmonella.
Nice.
Nice.
So it's really just based on the bacteria.
Yeah.
All right. Oops, there's an ad. Okay. Sous vide. Sous vide is a cooking technique that utilizes precise temperature control to deliver consistent restaurant quality results. Sous vide, which means under vacuum in French, refers to the process of vacuum sealing food in a bag and then cooking it to a very precise temperature in a water bath. This technique produces results that are impossible to achieve through any other cooking method. Interesting. So it's very precise cooking, and it does actually use temperature. Whereas ceviche is a South American seafood dish originated in Peru that is typically made from raw fish cured in fresh citrus juices.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it was cured through the citrus.
Cool.
Slay.
And then lastly, I asked why some meats can be cooked or eaten raw. And basically, it's just probability.
Take a gamble. See what happens.
Fish contain fewer pathogens like bacteria, viruses, and parasites that can infect humans. So
there you go. Good luck.
Literally.
Well, hopefully that answers Maddie's question. I feel like I learned a lot about that, especially about you.
I'm glad. That's the real purpose of this podcast. Just an outlet for me to share my anecdotes.
You should always tell me about times that you vomited or had like really violent bodily motion. All right. Well, that was our 14th episode. I think we did a good job. If you guys enjoyed that, be sure to find us on social at Search Bar Podcast. And my handle is I Got Schubach, IGOTSCHUPBACH across all platforms.
And if you have a listener question that you want us to try to answer, feel free to email us at searchbarpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to give us a review on whatever platform you are listening to this on. We appreciate it. We love 5 stars. They boost our egos, which are quite fragile. So please review. And until next time, happy searching.
Slay. Bye. Outside the Search Bar is a Perfectly Done Toast podcast production.